Okay, we are live on YouTube. If you want to begin the meeting, Paul.
Very good. Let's call the meeting to order at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. John Mulligan. So with that, Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
She's muted.
We do.
Great.
I do.
Good. Very good. Do we have members speaking?
Yes.
We do.
Okay, carry on.
I'm reading a letter from Ed Kokila. Could I have the following statement read at the board meeting and included in the board minutes? From the Facebook group Sterling Oaks Tennis Club, Naples, Florida. My name is Ed Kokila. I live at 1740 Sanctuary Point Court. The following motion is from the tennis committee. The board passed this motion pending legal review. The tennis committee unanimously proposed the motion below for the board to consider. This was a result of a tennis member using the Sterling Oaks logo on his social media postings. That no person or entity other than the Sterling Oaks Board of Directors or General Manager shall make any social media post of any kind, including statements, offerings, comments, or others on behalf of or any way representing the Sterling Oaks Tennis Club and or community. This includes prohibiting the use of the Sterling Oaks logo. This motion is based on a false statement. I have never used the Sterling Oaks logo on the Facebook group page. It may have inadvertently been displayed in a photo that was posted. I ask that you rescind this motion because it's based on a false statement. Everything posted on Sterling Oaks Tennis Club, Naples, Florida is to promote Sterling Oaks. I encourage you to check out this Facebook group yourself before you condemn it. About and purpose of this group. Sterling Oaks Tennis Club, Naples, Florida is among the very best tennis clubs in Southwest Florida. 12 hard-to courts, 10 of which are lighted for evening play. Sterling Oaks encourages home ownership, but welcomes non-homeowners to become members. There are several levels of membership, and annual single and family memberships. Minimum membership is 3 months. Many tennis members play on USTA teams. Very competitive tennis here. Sterling Oaks has a great teaching pro who does lessons and drills, organizes exhibitions and tournaments, and oversees a program that has 400 plus tennis members. The tennis shop is staffed by the very best in Southwest Florida. Invite your Facebook friends to join this group. I've also posted a photo of what the group page looks like. We currently have 510 members. You don't have to join the group to view the contents. Lately, I've been posting photos of properties for sale in Sterling Oaks. I also allow realtors to post homes for sale in Sterling Oaks and homeowners who are renting their houses out. I do not allow advertising of anything other than Sterling Oaks properties for sale or rent. I have never and will never profit financially from this Facebook group. My only intent is to inform others of this great community. Just an FYI, last fall before Hurricane Ian, I started another Facebook group called Volunteers of Sterling Oaks. If you have time to view it, you'll see that my intent is for neighbors helping neighbors. Because of this group, we were able to help several concerned homeowners to give them information on how the hurricane affected their homes, and was also able to help a few neighbors with problems they had with the hurricane. I hope you find this Facebook group acceptable too. Please let me know if there's anything in either of these Facebook groups that you feel is unacceptable. My intent has always been to make Sterling Oaks the best community in Southwest Florida. Respectfully, Ed Kokila.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. I'll make 2 quick comments and then we'll move along. Number 1, our resolution never mentioned Ed in particular. It could be that this is a concern about some others in the community doing a similar kind of thing. And number 2, we said we would look into this and ask our legal counsel for advice. So we will still take this under consideration. So with that, let's go to the secretary. Go ahead, Browning.
Basically, the same comment. First of all, I want to say to Ed, I appreciate his site is very helpful, and what he's done has been very good for the tennis program. And if in fact he didn't put the logo on, then we apologize. But regardless, as Paul put out, now that we have social media, it has brought to light that we should go ahead and pass this to make sure in the future that there might be cases where others might inadvertently do this, okay? So.
Yeah, good point. Okay, unless there are no other comments, let's go to Secretary's report. Lindia.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 23rd board meeting.
Need a second?
Second.
Rick Sanders seconds. Any discussion? Any corrections? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There is no president's report. Let's go directly to the general manager's report.
You all have my report as a part of the packet that Cezanne sent out. Summer projects, the clubhouse roof is still just has its dry in on it. We're waiting on tiles. I think that as we get closer and longer, that this dry in membrane stays on the roof. I'm not so sure that after 6 or 7 months, it laying out there, whether or not it should be looked at from a stability standpoint before they put the tiles on it. I would like to know what should be done to that. I'd like to get some opinions, probably from a roofing engineer, not the company that's doing the work, just so that we have a true understanding that when they do put the tiles on over the underlayment, that it is proper and it is watertight, seamless. We, as you know, have been working with the pool committee to try to find information on the pool being open at night, which requires not only a permit by the county, it requires specific lighting parameters. We were working with an engineer. He kind of bailed on us. The second engineer bailed on us. We ended up going to Frontier Lighting, which is the people that supplied us with a lot of the information, supplied us with the street lights that we put in a couple of years ago, and also a lot to do with the tennis court lights. Glenn came out and he gave us a report. I sent that to Steve Mara and the pool committee. It basically gives the parameters that's necessary, gives us a cost for the lights themselves and the poles, but does not contain any costs for the installation by the electrician and the contractors to be able to mount the poles and do the wiring specific to its needs. And so I'm in contact with the company that we utilize here for the other electrical needs that we've done over the past and try to get a good idea on that. I've also gone to our insurance company and to ask them about liability insurance for keeping the pool open later at night. We know that our current liability program, I think Philadelphia, denied coverage simply based on risk and liability during it's outside of normal hours of operation when employees and staff are not present. So I've asked them to search for other markets, other insurance companies that may provide us that liability coverage. And I'm asking for some information on that as well. So once I get all that together, I'll be able to put it together a more formalized report for the pool committee, and they can take a look at it. And then if so, they'll review it, recommend it, and come up to the board. just to let you know, we closed the clubhouse for a little while during August to do some work in here. Got all the carpets and floors cleaned. We've did a lot of work around the kitchen. We put in a new floor in the kitchen over the 28-year-old tile floor that was in bad repair. I did some work on the walls in there, did some painting, and have out all that done. The cleaning and the maintenance repairs have been completed. We still have a couple other areas to go, painting on some of the doors down in the locker room, etc. So we're working on getting all of that done. The bocce pergolas, these are the other project, the bocce pergolas. They are in permitting at the county. The county reviewed the first permit application and rejected it, wanting corrections to the site plan. So we went to the same engineering firm that the pickleball folks had contacted. They went ahead and sealed and stamped a new SDPI site plan with the pergolas on it, and that's been submitted to the county. We're waiting on approval for that. The contractor is ready to go and expects, if everything goes down the line correctly, that the pergolas will be installed within either by the end of November or during November. The pergola at Deer Creek that was damaged in the hurricane and was several, I don't know how many years old, 30 years old as well, has all been repaired, repainted, and all new cedar up on top. So that should last another 30 years. They've also painted all the columns, so it looks pretty much brand new. The water feature out in front of the clubhouse, as Steve had talked about, is still nearing completion. It's a labor of love, only because we didn't hire a contractor to assist us in this endeavor. We basically have been doing this in-house and with our crew, the maintenance crew with Randy, Zach, and Martin. We only have the three since Alan has left. We have been diligently searching for a fourth to assist us to come on board before season. The labor market is extremely difficult, and we are still working on trying to find the right jigsaw puzzle piece to fit into our puzzle here at Sterling Oaks. We do have some lines on some people. We hope to get that done.
Maybe Alan is rested.
I know Alan's very happy up there in Johnson City, Tennessee. He's enjoying life and working with his son, helping him on his endeavors up there as land clearing and whatnot. I can only tell you that the water fountain feature had to be pretty much all the piping, all the electrical, everything had to be removed, all the landscaping taken out. The roots had been detrimental to all of that. We also found out that when it was poured and put in place, that they put it right over the existing irrigation main lines that run down towards from the one side of the clubhouse all the way to the other, going down to the pool, and those were crushed and had to be replaced. So that's part of the problems we had with irrigation in those areas. All that's been done. We're down to putting lights into the fountain and trying to get the actual fountain jets to come on to play. The dolphin has been set in the fountain, and it's not operational yet. We're kind of getting it all together. So in the next week or so, we should have it completed. I think as time goes by and the landscaping grows in, that it'll look quite nice. The marsh project that was started some time ago, talked to them. They have sprayed the marsh in the loop that they had intended, and there is grass that's dead out there. They have not really done anything else besides that. They've told me that they've come back in October, do another spray and probably some cleanup. They may do some planting as well around the edges, because they were supposed to put in 1,450 new plantings to brighten up the edges of the marsh out there against the condos to assist in making it more presentable and colorful. So we're waiting on that to happen, and that hopefully should occur sometime in October.
We have a 2-year contract with them.
We do have a 2-year contract. We've paid them about $16,000 out of the $37,000 that was approved by the board, and that will, we'll dole that out as they produce results.
Mark, Mark,
Yes.
I haven't seen any channels.
You can only see that if you're up here at the clubhouse in the parking lot and you look out, you'll see where the grass has been killed in a line that stretches over from the front of the pond closest to the clubhouse, and it goes out straight away towards the back of the back towards the condos in the back, and then it loops around there and comes back the other way. But there is no channel.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they say that they're killing the grasses and then they'll remove those. So we'll look forward to that moving forward. The pool furniture that was approved and everything else like that, the tables and chairs and also the chaise lounges that were picked out by the pool committee should be arriving about mid-October. We will have, I think that they've given us their final invoice to get that ready to go, and they'll be delivered and set up. I'm suggesting too that one of the things that the pool committee had talked about was cleanliness and maintenance. And one of the things that we found out, Treviso Bay, I'll just let you know that Treviso Bay bought $165,000 worth of pool furniture.
Oh.
And has become one of their best customers at the same company that we're using. But Treviso Bay went ahead and they took the advice of the company to utilize what's called CitraClean, which is a natural biodegradable algicide cleaning product that you spray on. It's kind of like Wet and Forget, but it's CitraClean. Disney uses it. A lot of the big places like UCF, Universal Studios, and everything else uses CitraClean because it is a natural environmental algicide and cleaning product. You spray it on, and then you do that twice a year. And honestly, you really don't have much problem with dirt and mold and whatnot. They gave me a gallon to try. At my house, I have a white pool cage that is always green, especially in the summertime when it's hot and rainy. I've used the CitraClean on my pool furniture and also on the pool cage. I can tell you that I haven't had to touch it since I've done that. So, and I know that these other big companies use it as well. I think that it would be beneficial. A case of it that would last us more than a couple of years is only about $150, and it can be watered down 5 to 1. So if they spray the existing furniture when it comes in new, and then do it one more time after 6 months, the inside and outside of the umbrellas and also the pool chaises and chairs, I think we're going to see a dramatic increase in cleanliness, and we won't have to worry about that mold and mildew that we see gathering on those chairs sometimes when the humidity and the weather's hot. So
They
anyway,
use that material for roof cleaning also.
yes, that's correct. So anyways, that concludes my report.
Okay, any questions of Mark?
One question, one comment. First question is, do you have a date on when they think they'll get the tiles for the clubhouse?
The tiles for the clubhouse?
Yeah.
I heard December, January.
Oh, okay. The other thing is, on the Deer Creek pergola, I noticed there's a couple of big gaps in the post. If they redid that, I would have hoped they would have taken some putty and filled them in. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that those gaps were originally for putting on some trellises and whatnot, because you remember way back in the day there was big vines covering that. I think they had a lot of jasmine vines all over.
All I'm saying is, we redid it, it would look like it was redone if you got rid of those.
That's a good idea.
Sure, I mean, I could take a putty knife and do it in 30 minutes probably.
Sure. No, it's a good point. I'll take care of that. Thanks, Brownie.
Any other questions of Mark? If not, we'll go to treasurer's report. John Mulligan.
Okay, before I get started with the financials, I want to bring you update on a couple things. We had the first draft of the budget. I met with Mark and Cezanne, then Paul. Had plenty of questions and comments. And as with most budgets, we have revisions to make to be able to present the budget to the board, then to the community. The finance committee also looked at it and had their own list of questions and comments. The time frame for this is to have version 2 back to me by 10/6. We will meet again, make adjustments as needed, and have the finance committee review it around 10/9, 10/10. We will make any final adjustments if needed and get the board a copy of what we hope will be the final budget. They will have well over a week to review, ask questions, make comments before the 10/26 board meeting. We will discuss, then vote to send the budget out to the community. We then can vote to approve the budget at the November meeting, meeting all legal requirements. We also had the first couple of versions of the 2024 reserve study, and the same process took place. Okay. The financials. In the month of August, we had net income of -3,000 versus a budget of 7,000 for an unfavorable variance of $11,000. Tenants had a favorable variance of budget of 10,000 for the month. The year-to-date favorable variance to budget is $50,000, a net income of 98,000. This is due to the increased non-resident membership. I expect this to continue. And if it continues even at half the current rate, the net income should be 130,000 at year end. The budget net income will go to cover reserve expenses, capital expenses, as well as other charges that are not included in the direct charges to tennis operations, such as security, clubhouse maintenance, etc. Social had unfavorable variance in the month for the budget of 4,000 and had a year-to-date favorable variance to budget of $30,000. I expect that most of the 30,000 favorable variance to remain for year end. Common areas had a favorable variance of 3,000 for the month and has a year-to-date favorable variance of 33,000. Once again, there are a lot of ups and downs with several accounts, but expect to be on budget at year end. G&A had a favorable budget variance to budget for the month of $2,000 and a year-to-date unfavorable variance to budget of $34,000. Part of this is due to sewer repairs, condo, water, sewer, and utilities, and lower contribution from home sales. I expect G&A to be unfavorable at year end. Year-to-date net income as 8/31 is $120,000 versus a budget of $45,000 for a favorable variance of $75,000 for the year. Any questions?
Could you give me the numbers on the reserve spent versus the budget for reserve? I know you said it was in your document, but I'd like to hear it. Make sure
Okay,
you knew what it was.
All right.
You know,
can do that.
whatever.
It was sent out, but here we go. Okay. The 2023 reserve estimated expenses was $917,000. Okay. So far this year, we spent $300,000. And we also spent close to $300,000 at the end of last year for paving of the roads that was in this year's study. So right now we have $330,000 that has not been spent of our estimated $917,000.
Thanks, that's good. Just want everybody to be aware of it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't think we always look at things.
Any other questions of John? John, do you have anything further?
No, it's just we're furiously working on the budget to get it to where we think it's should be, and we'll get that out to the board to look at. As I said, so we gotta have general discussion on and hopefully get it out to the community.
You will all see later in the agenda, there's an item for budget discussion, the cash reduction and long-term capital fund. I'd like to get some input from board members in terms of how you regard these two items and how it should be included, if it's included in the budget. But we'll save that for later. And we have more critical items to talk about prior to that. So if there are no other questions of John, let's go to project team and committee reports. Let's start with activities.
Priority dining continued June through the present with the exception of a 2 to 3 week hiatus for a kitchen update and rental, as well as a thorough cleaning of the entire clubhouse. The 2 for 45 or 42 dining was a huge success and filled our dining room throughout the summer. Curbside dining was also available with the exception of 929 where there is no service. Looking ahead, October the 6th, wine tasting and dining at the club, 5:30 to 7 is the wine tasting. There's a 3-course dinner for 2 people, $42. It includes a drink, house draft, house wine, or a soft beverage. 10:10 book club will meet at 1 o'clock in the clubhouse. The book is Looking for Jane by Heather Marshall. We're always looking for new men and women to come join in this monthly event. The 13th of October, dining and dancing at the pool. Music by the ever popular Thistle and Lace. 16th of October, 1:30 p.m., Medicare Mary returns to our clubhouse to educate, inform, and help us select or tweak our Medicare plan for the best results for your money and needs. I have personally spoken to a resident who saved $1,000 by gaining this information at one of those events. She is paid by Medicare and does not benefit financially from any results of this event. So bring your Medicare plan, bring your questions, and see if you too could benefit from this free event. The 16th of 20th, the knife sharpening is at the parking area. You can bring kitchen knives, utility tools, or gardening shears. The 20th, dining and dancing at the club, music by Travis Jerbick, 6 to 9. 24th of October is trivia night with Julio. Time to get your tables of up to 8 per table ready to rumble. Bring your friends who know everything about nothing and something about everything. 10:27, dining, dancing at the club with music by Jason DeSimone. Halloween costumes are encouraged. Word on the street is that a horde of ghouls and goblins are scheduled to invade the gathering. It could be a very scary night. You are welcome to come to the bar for cocktails without staying for dinner. November the 1st, ready for a Karen Hall tournament? Well, this is for you. Sign up and come enjoy the fun. The event is on the back lawn. 3rd of November, dining and dancing at the club, music by Travis. The 4th of November, music at the pool and cabana. 12:30 to 3:30 is the Veterans Car Wash in the parking lot. Bring your vehicles and get the best car wash around. Vets from Florida Gulf Coast University will be on hand to wash, as well as volunteers from other vets, activity club members, and community volunteers. Please come, enjoy, and help support our Legacy Scholarship Fund. Music by a newcomer, Andy Morellian. November 5th, Pickleball Welcome Back Party under the tent at the Cabana. All pickleball players are welcome. The 8th of November, Girls Night Out, first event of the season. This is a chef demo making entertaining at home easy. Eric will demonstrate making a few appetizers and create a delightful charcuterie board. The 10th, Veterans Dinner at the Pool. Music is by Jason DeSimone. Hours are 6 to 9. The 14th, Welcome Back Party on the back lawn. Time to reunite with old friends, meet some new friends, do a little dancing, enjoy the food, and listen to the tunes by Travis. Please check the website for times and reservations. Our next board meeting is October 26th at 10 o'clock. This concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you, Lynn. Any questions of Lynn? Okay. With that, let's go to architectural standards. Rick.
Okay.
I think I sent this one item for just your perusal earlier in the year, but we never did anything with it. This is regarding car covers. A motion to add to the rules and regs. If a vehicle cover is used on a vehicle parked in plain view, the vehicle cover shall be a product designed to cover a vehicle, no tarps, blankets, etc., and be made of a non-metallic, non-reflective, neutral colored material, and shall attach securely to or around the vehicle to prevent slippage. Additionally, the vehicle cover shall be kept in good condition, free of tears, debris, mildew, mold, etc.
Do we currently allow car covers?
We do, but there's been some reaction to some that were in this metallic kind of, and beat up, distressed kind of material. I know we've given some warnings to some people. I know one over in Deer Creek, they did change from a metallic one to a solid one. It looks a lot better. I think you, Paul, had a question initially about how long they should be up for. And I guess that was nothing, we never really determined how long. It's actually some of the people that are maybe seasonal leave those out there longer than others.
But there's no maybe about it. That in fact occurs. And I would hate to be their neighbor, parked next door to something with a cover for 6 or 7 months or
Should
longer.
we put a time limit on it? That would be your recommendation.
I would certainly recommend that. I mean,
Mark?
to me, that's quite an eyesore.
Mhm.
Paul,
Yes.
we have in the condos, we want them to have a car cover, a good one, because the cars get filthy that are left here, like a lot of people are from Europe and they go for the whole season, they're gone and they're in Europe. And they have to, they park in their parking spot under the canopy with the car covered. And we prefer that because they're tarring the roads, they're sealing the roads. I think we might be liable if the car is left uncovered because we made it a rule. And they went through paving and got that tar all over their car.
Well, I would maintain they're taking the gamble and the chance. But I won't go to war over this issue. I just find it personally offensive to see that covered for 6 months or more.
Well, I'll agree with you on that. I just wonder if, I don't know. I think most communities allow covers on cars, but especially in the condos where they don't have a garage.
I wonder how many disallow it entirely.
I don't know. That's a good question. Mark, you have any idea?
I know that a lot of, well, the other bundled communities and the ones that I worked in do not allow any car covers at any time. Which that's just some of those communities that I know of. I'm not quite sure of, other condo communities. One thing that I just was going to ask Rick is this: the ones that use the gallon jugs filled with water with the ropes tying it down to keep it on the ground. Is that something that we could
No.
kind of go
I
for?
haven't seen that lately. Yeah.
Oh, we have.
In my travels, I've probably seen maybe a half dozen of these throughout the community. There was one over in Wildcat. I know this one in Deer Creek, and maybe someone talked to the owner. It was really, really obnoxious, but they changed it. I guess the thing of the seasonal one, I don't know how to get around that because there are people that are gone for 6 months unless they made a trip down here or had somebody relocate it. Ultimately, the single family homes, I think they should be able to find a way to keep it in their garage, maybe move some of all the other stuff out of there, but that's a personal preference. I don't know. I think
I've noted that you're going to suggest a survey in the community in your report here. Is that correct?
We are. Should we put this item out there?
That's what I'm thinking. I wonder if the rest of the community would feel that we really don't need car covers.
Okay.
And it would be my guess that might be the case. I mean, we're so strict on all these other standards. It surprises me that we would allow this.
Yeah. And maybe that's a good way to get a feel for it.
Right.
I'll get into this survey thing, but I think part of that, part and parcel of that is this whole communication issue that we've had, that we're not listening to people. They're not, we're not communicating well, but I think this survey thing, whether people elect to reply or not, at least we're going to get a response. Some people don't care. We're going to get a feel for what people do care about, and maybe we'll random sample as the car covers. We might find that half the people in the community hate them, and some are going to say, we don't care one way or the other. We're not going to respond. So I'm perfectly fine with that if the rest of the board is putting it on that survey.
Yeah, well, I'd like to hear from the rest of the board. Are we on the right track? John?
Yeah, I personally don't have a problem with car covers. I mean, I think just trying to keep them nice and the way it is like everything else. So I don't have a problem with a well-kept, nice car cover.
Paul?
Yeah.
As you know, Peter, in our association, had a car cover for years and he tied it with jugs of water. And we told him he couldn't do that anymore. We just told him he couldn't do it. We didn't like it. And he stopped doing it. So he had a car cover one year, but then, I don't know, this year he left it uncovered. I parked next to it. It's filthy. All the leaf blowers, when they go around blowing all the debris, all the mulch, everything, it's all over the car. I've cleaned it off a couple of times. I shouldn't have to do that. But if I leave it, if I don't clean it, it looks god awful. And every time I get out of my car, I'm looking at that filthy car. So I don't know. If you live here, you just have to say, would you rather have a nice car cover, or would you rather look at a filthy car for 6 months?
Well, you know what? I have a house watch guy and he takes care of my house. Maybe Peter needs a car watch guy that cleans off his car once a month.
Well, that's a good idea. But I do think that you have to have that as part of your proposal then, that they have to keep the car clean.
Well, it says at the very last part of the paragraph, should be kept in good condition, free of tears, debris, mildew, mold. We could have the committee can cite these folks if they're not complying with it. It's simple as that.
That would be okay with me.
One option would be to have a different room for the condos. I mean, they don't have garages. Allow them in the condos, but for single residents, limit it to a certain short period or something. In other words, I think most of the people in the condos would probably support having that option if they want to use it, if they need to. I mean, I think it's mainly a problem for people with a condo with no garages.
I'm siding here with Brownie. I lived in the condos for a number of years, and if you don't cover your car, it does get ugly. It does get dirty. If you have a car cover that is made specifically for your make and model vehicle, they look fine, they attach fine. You don't need water jugs or whatever. I think the condos probably should be treated a little differently than the folks who have garages.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't recall ever seeing one, at least in Sanctuary Point. I mean, there might have been one, but it was there for a short period. I mean, I walked through it with my dog all the time, and I don't think it's an issue. But on the other hand, if I were in the condo, I would probably want to be able to use one since I wouldn't have a garage.
It seems so contradictory to me. As Rick goes on in his presentations, we're going to look at doors that are acceptable and doors that are not because they're too ornate. And we're making rulings along that line, and yet we're saying car covers are okay. That's confusing and contradictory in my way of thinking.
We all have doors, and ours all fit this. Ours are all the same. We don't have any blue doors or pink doors or green doors either. They're all white.
The point I'm making is the architectural standards are making decisions on a thing as close and tight as the ornateness of a door. and yet we would allow a car cover. That to me does not make sense. Anyway, I think we're spending probably too much time on this issue.
Okay.
Maybe if Rick can include this in the survey, that'll give us a little more direction.
We can do that. Yeah, that's simple. Okay. Okay. Any other discussion on the car covers? I can also do a kind of a random drive around and give you guys an idea how many that we're talking about too.
That's a good point.
Okay. In your packet, also the committees reviewed the total architectural standards document this past summer, and the edited standards are attached. Those are the ones with red. If you printed it out, they're all in red. And then the updates on the paint colors. I don't know if you want to go through these one by one, or you want to, if you had a chance to look at all of them.
Go ahead, Browning.
Well, I look at it this way, there's so many of them, there's no way I'll ever vote for all of them. I think we have to vote on each one. I mean, otherwise, I'm guessing that each of us, if you look through them, might have one or two. Paul's already indicated maybe he's not too strong about the door one. There's a couple I'm not, so in other words, I can't vote for it if it's for the whole package.
Yeah. I can cover them one by one. It's gonna take a little bit of time and discussion. It's up to the president here whether he wants to do that or not, or whether we want to.
Can we wait until Cezanne gets back someday in order to go through this? Because I've got to do.
That's fine.
I don't think I
Yeah.
can.
That's fine. I can tell you.
I'm not prepared for those 46 motions.
I can tell you the committee spent a lot of time on this, and we're trying to get it right and refine it and update it. A lot of it's subjective. So, we get into paint colors. Why isn't my color Sherwin-Williams on there? Well, we're going to have one of the questions is survey questions is give us a color, but you can't please everybody. Some of this is, as Paul said, we look at the integrity of the community. Some of it's pretty much a no-brainer, and some of it's subjective. I just don't want to spend a lot of time on it now when we have a lot of other things to do. If you want to wait till Suzanne gets back and postpone it till the October meeting, I'm sure that's fine.
I mean,
why don't we do that? And Rick, maybe you can highlight the points that the committee is really concerned about and something we should zero in on. And if you could highlight those priority points, then we can pick it up next month.
Okay. I'll make a quick overview here. Alphabetically, air conditioning units, mini splits are permitted. The compressor for the mini split must be hidden by landscaping or fencing. Then into vegetation, exterior sculptures, similar items. 1 yard ornament per yard is the standard now. A yard ornament such as a statue, bird bath, or bench should be composed of materials that will survive Florida weather. Ornaments shall not be excessively large for their space. Artificial turf is permitted, however, it cannot be visible from the street. Large artificial rocks may be used to hide utility boxes. Driveways may be constructed with pavers or concrete. Driveway dimensions shall not be increased unless approved by the Architectural Standards Committee by a modification request. We get into paver colors. A lot of them are lined out because they no longer exist. They're no longer offered, but we were using the primary vendors and using those colors. The tri-circle color palette needs to be reviewed. Energy conservation equipment, solar panels. Remember, we had this issue over in Deer Creek. Panel locations must be submitted with modification requests. Panels are not to be installed on the front roof facing the main roadway. Exterior light fixture, including landscaping lighting, replacement shall be of appropriate size, color, and style. Light bulbs should be clear or white. Exterior painting. This is one that came up to a discussion because there was a difference of opinion on what surface could be painted. Touch-up painting may be limited to 10% or less of the entire home. If more than 10% is required, the homeowner must submit a modification request. A modification request is required for painting of gutters and downspouts. Units shall be painted at least once every 10 years. Sweetwater Bay, Eagle Cove, and Heron Lake buildings must comply with the current exterior paint palette. Fences and walls, nothing here. Hurricane shutters and coverings. Clear shutters that have yellowed with age shall be replaced or not used in a permanent manner. Tree guidelines, I know we're gonna have something on that coming up too. Removal of any type of tree requires a tree removal request. All requests are a case-by-case basis. Removal and replacement shall be at the homeowner's expense. In the event that the removal of an oak or mahogany tree is permitted, a county-approved replacement tree shall be placed in an area where future problems will not arise. Recommended replacement hardwood lists are now laurel oak, live oak, dahoon holly, East Palatka holly, and southern magnolia. Ground covering. Unapproved materials for ground covering are shells and white rocks. Approved mulch materials. Wood mulch, pine straw, wood mulch, cypress, cedar, and cocoa brown. Rocks, naturals, grays, and beige, not white. Rocks may be used in 20% of the ground covering in the landscaping beds.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Mailboxes. We'll consideration of metal barrel roofs, and I'll get to that next. Oh, okay, here's one. We wanted to add something that flower pots cannot be placed in front of garage doors. We had one owner that obviously did not put their car in the garage, we used their car, parked it in the driveway, and had a whole line of pots in front of the garage door. I think that's been remedied. But that's something we elected, that we should not permit pots in front of a garage door lined up. Should be like in other parts of the yard. That's kind of a quick overview. When you guys have a chance to look at those more in depth, we can do that.
Yeah, good.
Questions?
One is that when rules and regulations were redone, I think it was a couple of years ago. I know maybe some of you were on that, but we did the rules and regulations. I think that it was similar to the ASC modifications and changes to the standards. I would say that in the interest of making sure that we have everybody look at it, I think that if you could highlight those areas, get it to the entire board, prior to the October meeting, if they had any questions on any of those areas or changes, that you wouldn't have to go and do these. That was what, 23, 33
Yeah.
individual. I don't think we did that with the each and every changes to the board rules and regulations. We have changed rules and regulations over time, one by one, but amending the whole rule booklet, I think, was done in a fell swoop with the changes that were in it. So maybe just in the interest of making a more succinct minutes, or for the people who would be interested in reading what the board went through, it'd be a lot easier to produce that document than it would be to do a minutes with motion, second, discussion. I think you could get the board's input on it if you gave them 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the next meeting to review those individual changes.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll when Cezanne gets back from vacation, I'll sit down with her and we'll we'll refine that and run it back out for consideration, more of a condensed version of it. I just didn't want to take up a lot of your time.
Yeah, all of this makes sense. We'll
You
wait.
didn't have to pay for the implant today.
There.
Okay, let's see when you get here. Bye.
Okay. Any beyond, we'll go into the survey next. In conjunction with the strategic plan, the ASC would like the homeowners of Sterling Oaks to complete a survey to further help with the architectural standards. I'll read these questions and then comment. The questions would be, and this we're just going to be going out to the community. Yes, no, maybe, I don't care. But it's more of this communication, things that we're trying to get opinions from people that until later on, it's like, oh, why did you let this happen? Number one, would you like the option to install a bronze garage door? Would you like the option to install bronze gutters? Would you like the option to install a garage door with vertical frosted windows? Would you like the option to install a roof with metal material? Metal style would match existing subdivisions materials, that is flat barrel or asphalt. If you would like to propose a paint color for the exterior paint palette, please submit a Sherwin-Williams color. Open input. The committee would design the survey with images of these questions for the homeowners to reference. So there's a visual there. So the backstory on this is we've got a community that's 30 years old, but many homeowners are looking to update in a more contemporary fashion. If you look around at other communities, you know, you're seeing maybe windows and doors, you're seeing dark colored downspouts, which you haven't seen here. And one of the committee members feels that it would intrude upon the architectural design of each community. Deer Creek looks like this, why would we change it? Sanctuary Point looks like that. I guess I look at it this way. We had a lengthy discussion about it and kind of concluded that the year 2024, people's tastes and preferences are different than they were in 1998. And that's not to say that everybody's going to like these options, but I think it behooves us to at least look at going forward where we are in this year, and that tastes are different and styles are different. If you go to these parade of homes communities, the new builders are showing different things. So we're not saying, hey, let's allow it. We're saying, let's throw this out to the community, see if anyone has a preference, if they care at all. If they don't care, we're getting very little response. We'll look at that way, but maybe people feel strongly about it. But I think we need to let them know that we're vigilant about that and welcome their opinions.
Rick, I think you're right on target. And I'll thank you and the committee for being diligent in this respect and paying attention to the strategic plan and reaching out to the community for their input too. So good work on this front. As we can see, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So hang on to your hat.
Yeah, that's what I said. So much of this is subjective, you know, and it's like, why would you paint your gutters that way? Well, you know, other places people do it, you know, and it's just, I think it's all about bettering the community too. I mean, we don't want to look like we're 1998. Maybe we want to look like, you know, hey, we're trying to attract new people, and you know, this is what we're doing. We're facing the consumer with different options. I would move that car cover issue to the survey, and if I guess I'll make the motion to send the survey to the community to help further update the standards with these 6 items plus the car covers. That'd be my motion.
I'll take that vote in a second. One more comment.
Sure.
I'd get as much information either from Beekman Report or Mark's network in terms of what other communities are approving and not approving. So if you can do some of that background work, the car cover thing is a good example. Okay. So that would be helpful and give the board a little perspective on what other communities are accepting of.
Sure.
So with that, Rick has made a motion to move forward on the survey. If there is no other discussion, we'll take a vote.
Need a second?
Browning.
I'm a little concerned with the ones we happen to pick. In other words, bronze doors. Why would, there's a lot of changes that could be made. It's almost like if we put out this limited list, it's kind of like we're almost supporting it. In other words, if you ask a question, you might get the answer that you don't want. I think we need to think about, even before going out, this board right here, would we vote for bronze garage doors?
I'll answer that,
Came
Ron.
back and everybody said we wanted them. It is subjective. The board ultimately has to worry about the standards. Would we really allow metal roofs and bronze doors?
I'll answer that.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well,
Asking the board, there's 9 of us, okay?
you asked about
Okay,
bronze.
good.
If
Okay.
you drive around the community, you're gonna see a lot of people have painted their white pool cages, structures bronze. That's an updated color. So that's why we're using bronze. I could go back and say, how
That's
about
in the back of a
purple
house.
garage?
That's not out in the street.
All we're doing is a survey. We're just, we're not taking this any further than right now, asking the community for their input.
But it's the choice of things we're asking about. It's a funny list.
They don't have the answer.
So Brownie, are you suggesting they expand the survey a bit?
Well, somehow make it more general. In other words, it's like if you ask the question, sometimes you get an answer you don't want when they're too specific. It's very specific, a bronze garage door. I'll be very frank, I've never seen a bronze garage door, okay? Anywhere, okay? So where did that come from? Okay.
All right,
Apparently
so
they're out there.
Rick, you have the gist of Brownie's questions. You can
Yeah.
refer that back to the
Well, there's a
committee.
bronze garage door, I've never seen one.
Who seconded it?
Did
I'll
anybody?
second it.
There you go. Thank you.
Second.
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah, I think-
Chat.
Rick, there's so much going on here that I feel that we need, I'll word it this way, an in-person special meeting to deal with all this. John?
I think this is a great start. I mean, we have to start getting out of the 90s, like Rick said, whether it's this or with all the other stuff around here. We're getting younger. We have to give people the option. And to Brownie's question about the metal roof, sure, if the community wants one, I would go for that in a second. Yes. So we have to give the newer people hopefully what they want. We don't know what they want. This is a good thing. But we are getting younger. Hopefully we're going to get more modernized, or else we are going to stay in the past. So I think this is a great idea.
I'll repeat what I said earlier. I respect the fact that the committee is asking the community and we're trying to get their input, and I think that's healthy. So all we're doing at this point is doing a survey. Rick, you've picked up some comments from the board members. Go back to your committee and suggest to them what you've heard today. And I think all of this is good. And let's come back and we'll have a more in-depth chance, Chap, to take this apart.
You have a motion and a second on the table.
So all in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hold
Aye.
it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got it? Okay.
Okay, those opposed? Brownie, anyone else? Okay, very good. Motion passes. We'll carry on. Okay, survey. Are we through, Rick?
Yes, we are. Thank you all for the long-windedness here, bearing with the long-windedness, but I tried to keep that document as refined as possible. We'll go back and compress it for more efficient review.
Well, again, thank you and the committee for your good work.
You bet.
Let's go to Chap with landscaping.
All right, we have actually two things. The first is we have a common area tree removal request. It is not an oak tree. I believe it's a mahogany tree,
Magnolia.
magnolia tree. It's been approved by the landscape committee with the caveat being the usual, the stump must be ground down, and we've added to what the person has to do, that they have to remediate the damage they do to the surrounding area, like grass and other things. So
This is a common area.
it's a, what kind of tree is it, Mark?
Magnolia tree on common area at the corner
It's a
of
magnolia tree on common area.
Silver Strand
Oh.
and Sterling Oaks Drive.
Oh, it says mahogany on the tree request form here.
I know, it's
That's not it though.
it's a magnolia. I
Okay.
mean, I'm sorry. I am very sorry. You're correct. It is a mahogany tree.
Mahogany.
I was right the first time.
You were right the first time. I apologize.
So
Well,
I move that we
the,
approve this, I move we approve this request with the caveats of a stump removal and remediation of any disturbed surrounding area.
All right, I have the motion. Do I have a second?
Just to be clear, the person doesn't have to replace it. Is that right?
Well, let's get a second, then we can discuss this. So I
I'll
need
second
a,
it.
okay, Rick seconds it. So I have the same question Brownie does. We're replacing a tree in a common area. Why are we not replacing it with something else that's less of a problem?
I can tell you that the original tree was planted directly on the fence line, and it has completely damaged the existing border fence to their yard and destroyed a lot of the active landscaping. I would say that there's many more opportunities in the area to be able to plant another tree close by in a common area. But putting one back right in this exact place, it once again, it would be a crowded atmosphere.
I
There are
agree
several-
with all of that. I agree. The tree should come down. I agree with that. I'm just concerned that if we're taking one down in the common area, why are we not replacing it somewhere else?
There definitely has plans for more trees to be planted in the common areas that do not have any crowded conditions. This area does not allow for putting a tree back in that area. There's 2 or 3 other oak trees directly next to this
Fine.
one. So
Fine. My point is, I'm okay with all of this as long as we're replacing the tree, one tree for another. I'm
got
fine. Now, Brownie, did you have a question?
No, Mark kind of answered it. Okay. I'm not necessarily for him for being replaced. I was just clarifying whether or not our vote required him to replace it. I'm not saying that he should replace it. Matter of fact, based on what Mark said, I would probably support not replacing it. This particular.
Let me say this particular lot and the common area is just full of trees. There's a lot of trees. I don't think it's going to be missed. We've never required the replacement of a tree. And I don't think we should be doing that now. And furthermore, if we want to replace a tree on common area, well, that's up to us then, not the homeowner.
Right. Right. I agree with that. And we're not asking him to do it. To me, this seems like a no-brainer. So I'm going to call for the vote on this motion.
Yeah.
And unless someone really needs to talk more about it. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
The second thing I have, it's not on the agenda, this is just FYI. We've been chasing for quite some time, replacing the plants or bushes or whatever you call them along the condo line out to 41. We have a quote to replace the bushes. It's not much money, but the landscape committee and I are waiting on a determination of whether or not this is enough. In other words, is the irrigation that's supplying the water for these bushes adequate, or is that part of the problem? So it's only $1,000 to replace the plants, but it makes no sense to me to replace the plants if the irrigation issue is a problem that's going to cause them to die anyway. So,
Mark,
I
where
sent
is
you,
this?
Jeff, I sent you the response to that email. I got
Yeah.
that back from Expert today, and you should have it in your inbox.
yeah, I
Expert,
saw it. I think they said we need to do some work on the drip line.
Expert said that it seemed fine, but what they would like to do if they were going to do it was the drip line, and it is working. But if they want to install new bushes, it'd probably be a good idea just to replace the drip line that is working in case it was clogged because of the pinholes being so small. So, which something we could do if you're gonna put in those plantings, I think we could put in a new drip line, and that would be a very easy
All
installation
right, well,
process.
then the solution's simple. Get us a quote, including replacing the drip line, and then we'll approve it.
Okay, so we
How's
don't
that?
need the board to be approving this, is that correct?
Excuse me?
We do not need the board to be approving that. We can inform the board, I think for the money that we're talking, it's probably gonna be less than $200 or $300 for the drip line.
Well, why don't we approve the amount for no more than $1,200,
Make it 15.
$1,500.
Okay.
Does that work for you, chap?
Yeah, I think so. I think the bushes are 1,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is the board comfortable with this? Is that your motion, chap?
yes, I move we authorize up to $1,500 for replacement of the 41 condo line bushes and replacing the drip line.
Not to exceed $1,500.
Right.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Brownie seconds. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you,
Paul,
chap.
Well, I agree with Mark. Why are we doing a motion to approve $1,000 item? This is getting more ridiculous and ridiculous. It's nice to let the board and the community inform them, but taking votes on this is gonna drive us crazy.
Well, for two
Well-
reasons. Number one, it came up at the board meeting, and number two, it's not that difficult to make a decision on the vote and carry it out, and we did it under 3 minutes, so I allowed it. But I agree with you, we shouldn't be bringing this up routinely. I agree with you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, chat?
No,
Okay. Very good. We're
I
moving
think the
right
community
along.
looks pretty good, by the way.
What's that?
I said, I think the community looks pretty good.
Good to hear. Okay, irrigation proposal report.
Okay.
Who's taking this?
I'll take it because
Okay, you're on.
right, I sent it out yesterday or day before. I'll just go over it so people in the audience could hear it. Okay, irrigation team report. The members are Rick, Ken, Chap, and myself. Okay, at the August board meeting, Paul set up an irrigation project team to look into the current irrigation system, what we can do to fix it while taking into account concerns of the community. The biggest concerns that we heard from the community were that it was unfair in terms of how the costs were being allocated throughout the community. It was including parts of the community that were not on the current system. Why should we pay for them? The proposal was too ambitious to do all at once. We've come up with a two-step approach. The first would be to install a new control system in 5 years. This would set up and control the amount and timing of water to all residences that now use the pond water. This could save up to 50% of the water that is now wasted. We'll also control the amount of water that flows at any one time through the system. This is more than it should be and currently taxing the pipes, which leads to the joints and pipes breaking. Second step would be to replace the pipes in 10 years. We are calculating each neighborhood based on the length of pipes needed, which was received from the contractor, as well as the square acreage of each house, which we obtained from the Collier County tax website. We feel this is the most equitable way of calculating the per door cost. The common areas, which is around 30%, will be shared equally by all 736 homes. Attached is the recommendation of the team. The concept has unanimous backing of the Finance Committee. Some of the questions, concerns that I have and that other residents might have is, by waiting 5 to 10 years, won't the costs go up? Yes. But by increasing the contribution by the inflation rate each year, hopefully we will keep up with the added cost. But the cost will still be more. Yes. But we will not have an 8% loan, and these funds will be earning interest. But we still have breakdowns. Yes. Okay. Does this have to go to community for a vote now? Should it go to community for a vote? And I'll just briefly go over the spreadsheets that were sent. As I said, we're breaking it out. We think the most equitable method. So some of the communities are going to be a lot higher than the other ones, but they have bigger yards and more pipes going to them. I'll just do, for instance, the controller, which we're doing in 5 years. Okay. Wildcat Cove will be paying $1,500 per door over those 5 years, increased by inflation. Okay. Condos Coach Home will be $1,440. A Manatee Traveneer will be $2,245. Preserve will be $3,142. Deer Creek with the pond water is $3,185. Deer Creek without the pond water, since we do have, we're going to split the common areas equally, that would be $457. Willow Bend would be $2,579. Sanctuary Point with the pond water would be $2,885. And Sanctuary Point without it would be $457. And everybody's saying, I thought all Sanctuary Point was on county water. That was a correct or incorrect assumption or thought on our parts. After experts in there, they came back and said there are 7 houses within Sanctuary Point that were on pond water. Okay, so this is just a controller. The pipes, which would be doing 10 years, we would start paying for those the next 5 years, and that'd be less because the pipes are $789,000 now, and the controller was $1,120,000. Okay. Questions on the concept, numbers, whatever.
Ronnie.
Several comments. First comment, when I discussed and I specifically asked the question of, I don't remember his name, the gentleman that did our study. He told me, and I thought that the common area number he gave me was like 18%. So first question, where did you come up with the 30?
Okay, I got it from them. Okay, I don't remember here. I got it from them. I don't remember remember ever getting an 18% number.
Well, I remember very vividly because I had a discussion with them about it. That was one of my concerns, so I think we need to recycle that. Okay.
All right,
Okay,
that's the first thing we need. Let's verify those percentages and figures.
I agree.
Second,
Any other questions?
second point is in the vote, if actually there was more of a positive vote by the members in Sanctuary Point and Deer Creek to get off county water, even though it didn't pass, it was more positive than the others. Yet we decided in this plan to leave out Sanctuary Point, in other words, not bring them off county water. So it's possible that if anything, would make it less popular. And the third point is, which is really relates to that, this would, to me, would qualify as a special assessment, which means we would have to put it to the membership since it's $1 million. The fourth comment is, and again, I discussed this specifically with the guy, I don't understand how you can have a new controller without, because part of the problem, I think, Mark, was all those timers on the ground, we can't control them, but they're controlled by wires that are under the street. So how in the world can we put in a controller without digging up the line and digging up? I don't understand. And I even asked the question, is it possible to have a remote controller where we can have remote values? And he said that wasn't available now. So conceptually, I don't know what the controller, how we can put in a new controller with the current system. And that maybe you can explain that, Mark, or we.
I can only tell you that when I went to Steve Hall of who was the contractor for Stallman Engineering, or the owner, and asked him about doing the controllers alone. Could we reinstall new wire lines into the grounds to control the existing valves and
Okay.
control the existing
Can you do me a favor
zones?
when you're done there? Can you take us out in the yard by the
they-
fence?
They would,
Require satellites, and then it'll tell you when they're required.
I'm gonna move John
All the
here.
way out by the fence.
That yes, that was possible. In fact, I asked him for one breakout of just the condos and coach homes, for instance, and he gave us a price just for the controllers. You do not, they don't, the lines are in the ground, but they not necessarily have to go run along the existing main lines down below the ground. Those controllers are just below the surface of the street that just have to tie into the valves and zones, like the ones out in front of your yard. So he said that could be done much easier. To do them at the same time is the most beneficial, of course, because then you don't have to do two diggings. But putting in the control system on a separate system, project is something that they can do. They've done it to other areas. In other communities, they don't have to replace all the lines when they're doing that, so.
Okay, but then where did we get that cost estimate? We have that type of project, which is different. Is that the right number then? We just can't take a piece out of the big thing that has to really be cost estimated. Because it is
That's a separate estimate.
digging some lines.
I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I just know that the $1.2 million that he put in for the $1.1 million that he has for the control system, within 5 years, it could be $1.3 million, $1.4 million. It could be, I don't really know. I just would say that it's a matter of if they didn't vote for it, if people didn't vote for it as an assessment to get it all done at once, and it needs to be done, then I think that the irrigation project team just had to come up with an idea how to start funding it, regardless of whether or not at the very end, maybe you're $100,000 shy, maybe you're $50,000 over. I wouldn't have any idea. And I've asked Steve, and he goes, I'm only quoting things that can be done. My quotes are only good for 30 to 60 days. I am not going to give you a quote for 5 years from now by any stretch of the imagination. So I can't tell you. We can only go by the numbers he gave us at the time that he bid the project.
And Brownie,
At 1.1, I'm concerned about the basis if it really includes, it includes more than a controller. It has to include digging up and putting new lines in, which is, I would think, a considerable expense.
when we got the prices up front, he separate them out. If we did one, the other one. So I'm going by that he quoted us, if we just did the controllers, it was 1.12 million. If we just did the pipes, it was $790,000.
Was that passed back through him and the contractors, that was a correct way? I mean, that you can really just break out that piece? That's what that makes.
That's who we got it from. We're not making this up.
Okay, my question is, has this been reviewed by the contractor and by the guy who, can't remember his name? Okay.
Russ Geiger and Steve
Yeah.
Hall.
Yeah, I mean, has that number and this concept of just doing the controller piecemeal, has that been passed back through that this is a reasonable number?
That's where we got the number.
Okay, I know we didn't take it out of what they gave us before and just pick it out for the controller. That's
No,
different.
this is a new estimate.
Is that right?
No, it's the same estimate, but at the time we got it broken out, Brown, we got it broken out. So we don't have to go to them again and ask the same thing.
But does it include the digging up and putting all the new lines in for the controller?
If he gave us a price for just doing a controller, that's the price for just doing a controller.
But there's more than, okay.
All right, I understand what Brownie is saying. So let's go back and make sure that that price includes excavation to get at the controllers that may be in the ground. Let's just double check that. But I think what we're doing today is measuring this concept that we're putting forward and whether or not we should go forward with this. We'll go back and double check the numbers, but let's get a feeling from the board about this concept. We need to give this conceptual approval to move forward. And on the matter of whether or not it needs to go to the community, yeah, we could go to the community once again. I'm not really in favor of doing that. We've done that once, but we know that if we're within the guidelines of 10% each year, we can move forward on this concept without going to them. And we as a board can say this needs to be done and we're moving forward on it. And we're not doing it all at once because that was rejected.
Let me, Paul, to that, let me read you the wording on this. Special assessments shall be payable in such manner and at such times as determined by the board, and may be payable in installments existing beyond the fiscal year in which the special assessment is approved. That says to me, and then it says, then you have to have the vote. So the point is, if we approve this plan, which is an assessment, even though we do it in installments over a number of, it's not a base assessment. If you read and I've got it in front of me, the special assessment, it says it can even include, and if we vote on this assessment, it is a special assessment that we're just installing over a number of years. So I don't think we can play that game.
Okay, so we'll run that by Jason to be certain, and just to let the board rest assured of his not decision, but his judgment on this. So we'll run it through him again, and we'll follow the rule of the law. Be assured that we'll do the rule of the law. We're not going to slip anything by anyone. We're going to do it properly.
Well, I would ask all the board members to get in and read 10.5 in the covenants and read this yourself. Because
I would recommend to the board that you not do that and you let our legal counsel do that for us.
it's based on assessment, not based on the project, okay? And we make this, you can make assessment over a number of years and you still has to go to the membership.
But the
Okay.
plan is, Brownie, to go to our lawyer. As Paul said, let him decide, not us decide the rule, the letter of the law.
Well, he's just another opinion. I mean, I can read the words and understand them.
I think it's a better opinion than anybody, any 9 of us, Brownie.
Yeah, we pay him more.
That says it can be determined.
Okay, let's move on.
May be payable in installments extended beyond the fiscal year in which the special assessment is approved. There's the word. It's pretty clear to me.
Okay, so rest assured, we will review that with our counsel. And there's no way we'll put this board or the community in jeopardy. So we'll move forward with that. Let's get back to giving this conceptual approval as we go forward. Do any of you have any problem with what John has mapped out here?
Not at all. I think we should do it. I mean, the community voted no, but we listened to them and we're coming back with something that I think personally is very reasonable. We could go send these things out for votes all day long and somebody's going to complain about it. At some point, we have to say, this is the way it has to be. There was no question about people that were believing we needed the work done. I think the big complaint was the inequitability of it, that people weren't, some of the communities weren't paying, were paying more than their fair share. But I think this addresses that in a very fair way with facts, that we've used the guidelines of square footage and pipe. So we didn't just pull a number and say, hey, this is the way we're doing it. I like the letter that Chap and Mark and maybe John, I think you all put together a letter that we would send out to the community, which I think is part of the communication thing. But I personally don't think that it has to go to a vote. That's my opinion.
I think we'll put this together to the point where the board agrees to it, and then we'll either have a town hall meeting, maybe we'll float out the message to the community, then have a town hall meeting, let people come in and voice their concerns. And my suspicion will be that they will applaud this effort. And if they don't, we'll hear about it. We'll know.
Chap's got a question.
Go ahead, Chap. Board members, help me out here. My screen is very tiny, so I don't always see the.
Well, I certainly think we should do this. And I don't want to start an argument out, but I will just say, I do not think this is a special assessment, but I'm very anxious to hear what Jason has to say.
Right.
The next thing I'll say is there's a caveat in this. We get down the road and we've got this pot of money and we want to spend it. At that point, I'm saying we go to the community and tell them or ask them if they'll approve the expenditures that we want to make. They'll either say yes or no. If they say no, we'll give them their money back.
Anyone
I
else?
look at this as a reserve, not a special assessment, because we have not over the years reserved for this. That's why we're having this conversation.
Right.
It was something that should have been reserved for over the last 25 years, and no board ever set up a reserve for the irrigation system. We're looking at it as setting up a reserve to fund the irrigation system in 5 years, to put in the controller, and another 5 years of reserve to put in the pipes. I disagree that it's a special assessment.
It's a good point, Ken. At any rate, we'll run that by Jason and see what he has to say, but I'm confident that his thinking will probably run along those lines. Any other comments?
Yeah, what about the other guys? I was gonna see what they have to say.
Yes.
And ladies.
Any other comments?
Well, there's the other concern I raised is you've arbitrarily left out Sanctuary Point and Deer Creek. Maybe they would like to go, I mean, their vote was more positive than the other. So they might want to participate in this. So eventually when it gets done, we get rid of the city water. And you've arbitrarily cut them out. And that could be a problem, okay? I see a legal problem with that if you read the documents. So think about that.
Well, think about this, Brownie. Once the board gives conceptual approval to this, and I would, not only for Brownie, but for all of you, we should think about a neighborhood meeting, chat session to get together and get the feelings from each one of these neighborhoods too. Because I think this is going to be healthy to have these discussions by neighborhood. So let's think about that as we move forward on this. We want the community with us. We don't want to surprise them. We don't want to infuriate them. We want them on our side moving together. So before we get too far down the line, let's find out what our neighbors think about all this.
Yeah, I have a little concern that this concept has left out Sanctuary Point and Deer Creek. And there was no one representing Sanctuary and Deer Creek in coming up with this concept.
Well, Brownie? If we wanted to include the rest, the majority of Sanctuary Point and Deer Creek, then you're into probably a similar approach, but now we've expanded it to control system and pipes. And I don't know if we want to go that far right now.
Yeah, but if you've made that decision, you've left them out, okay? So basically, the rest of the community's decided not only do you have to have county water, we're going to improve our system, and we're not going to improve your situation. We arbitrarily are going to leave you out of this.
Well, again, Brownie, I think a neighborhood meeting would be good, because my guess is, and I live in Sanctuary Point, you look at the numbers being pro-offered right now, and it's a tiny amount. You look at the numbers to include Sanctuary Point in this whole scheme, and it's going to explode. And my feeling is, my gut feeling is, as a resident in Sanctuary Point, is, hey, I'm fine right now. I've got my own control system. I know how this works. I'll pay for the county water. I'm stuck with it. I don't need to pay even more to hook up onto the Sterling Oaks pond water system. I think that's where they will go. I don't know. I think that's why we need to get them in a room and say, what do you think?
Well, remember, Paul, that even though it was a majority, the Sanctuary Point, Deer Creek, those votes were much more positive than any other area. So that's what we're doing.
Right. But my guess is they were more positive because they were getting a bargain and a half. Okay, now that they're going to have to be paying a lot more money.
We're getting a bargain and a half. That's exactly the attitude why people voted it down. They actually have been paying like $10,000 extra over 20 years at the expense of the rest of the community. And that's exactly the attitude that actually killed it. That people said that we were getting a great deal. We were not. We've been paying $500 a year for 20 years extra and being left out of the water of the system, okay? And that attitude is exactly the problem, John.
Okay. Well, that's the attitude of, plus your numbers are wrong, as usual, Brownie, number one. And number two is, that's the attitude of the community.
The wrong number at all. If anything, there's a wrong number is that 30%. You can't even tell me where you got it.
Okay. Paul,
All
take
right,
control,
all right.
please.
This is going nowhere now. Let's stay on a positive note. Let's move this forward. And right now we're stuck. So do I have any other comments about this proposal? All right, John, let's wrap it up. What do you propose from here?
Well, I said, well, we'll go back and check some of the numbers. And I think then, as you said, I was planning on doing it anyway, see what the community has to say, whether, you know, individual town hall meetings or whatever, to get the feel there. And then unless it's totally opposite what we are thinking there, then we come up with the exact numbers, which are pretty darn close now, and put it through a vote for the board.
So I would think the procedure would be we put out the document to the entire community and then follow up with town hall meetings. Individual chat sessions in the meeting. We could do a town hall meeting also. Why don't we start with the chat sessions in each neighborhood and then bring it to a town hall? That'll give us a pretty darn good inclination of where we're going. That makes sense to all of you?
The only thing is, with the number of people who come down, we really can't do those chat sessions to January. We need to have a good representative, particularly of those people that are not down here all the time.
We'll have to balance that because we've got to put this in the budget. So we'll balance that. Chap,
I plan on rewriting the document that I wrote the first time because I think I can make it better. Once I do that, Paul, do you want that document to go out sooner rather than later?
my inclination is sooner, but I want to hear from the rest of the board too.
Okay.
I mean, we have a budget to build and we need to consider this. So how do the rest of you feel? Aye or nay?
I'm in favor of sending this letter out. I think these guys did a great job distilling it and making it very concise and explanatory. It's not super heavy on a lot of legalese or anything. It speaks right to the point on what we're doing. And it gives the community the impression that we're doing something versus nothing.
Right. This is not a new issue, so we're not surprising anyone. But I think the big question is, what is the board thinking? Where are we going from here? Are they done or is there a plan B? That's what I'm hearing. And I'll guarantee you, once this letter flies, I'll be the first one to hear feedback. And I can share that with you.
Right. And if Brownie thinks that Sanctuary Point would want to go with this, we should find out at his chat session, or whether it's emails or whatever. And if they are, they get included in it. It's
Right.
Not that difficult, but people I've talking to at Sanctuary Point, like yourself and Moxley and some other people, don't think they would want it because it's not worth it.
Right, but we'll let Sanctuary speak for themselves.
Everybody's got their own
And,
opinion.
yeah, and we'll do it with a chat session in that community. So Brownie and all of you, think about revving up your neighborhoods and getting them together and getting them up to speed on this concept.
Okay, Molly, I'll rewrite the letter, run it by you, and we'll send it out. Okay?
Okay, that works.
Great.
Everyone on board with that?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Good.
All right. Next item, where are we?
Pickleball.
Pickleball.
Expansion, John Coyle.
You're on mute, John.
How about now?
Okay.
Good.
I'm okay?
Yep.
Suzanne included in the package a good bit of the information that she collected about the pickleball project. Let me first talk about the committee. The committee's been meeting and they are doing a lot of housekeeping stuff. And they are mindful that there are going to be a lot of expenditures, irrigation, bocce pergolas, lighting, landscaping, et cetera, et cetera. With this in mind, I tried to impress on the committee that we have a bid from a good contractor in the amount of money that we anticipated that we would be spending for this project. However, the committee, and Suzanne included this under the page for pickleball courts, the committee wanted to recommend to the board that we select Fast Dry option 2 in an estimated amount of $260,000 to do the 5-court expansion. I tried to impress upon them that this was $100,000 more than we anticipated, and for $100,000 less, we will get what we wanted in the boundaries of the existing pickleball courts. However, they wanted me to mention that to you. They also mentioned that maybe they should put all of this conversation off for another month. Suzanne and I disagree. I'm not going to speak for Suzanne. I'm going to speak for myself. The bid that we got from Fast Dry for option 3 meets all the parameters that we originally set for this job in the very, very beginning. So if you look at, I guess it's about page 24 or so in the package that they sent. And I'll direct you to the 3rd column where Fast Dry is talking about the court 3 or the 3-court build. So they're saying $147,000 to do the basics, and then for we're not interested in the second block with the basketball court, and we're not interested in the cushion, and we're not interested in the cushion plus at the very bottom. So $147,000 for what we are initially asking for, and then an additional $12,200 for this fiberglass membrane that makes it last longer, and Fast Dry is going to resurface for us courts 1 and 2. A lot of folks believe that they need to be resurfaced. They're probably right. So for the total of $159,240, I'm sort of going against what the pickleball committee came up with. I'm proposing that we choose Fast Dry's 3-court proposal and tell them to go ahead and authorize them, if they can do this job the way we want it, for under $160,000, we encourage them to do it.
Okay. Do we have discussion?
John, I have a question.
You got a second?
There's a disparity between the 3-court build and the 5-court build, and the cover sheet said the committee would like to see the initial project done correctly with pathways and social gathering areas, so there's not a need to keep going back to add/change items. I guess I'm puzzled about going back. I mean, I think whether we're going to do it, we're going to do it. I'm not sure if what it's to your satisfaction as you described it, based on the parameters of the needs here for the 159, why would we need to keep going back and add/change? And what it appears that we're getting for the extra 100, we're just getting a walkway and a social gathering area.
Well, the walkway is the social gathering area, and the walkway
Right.
basically would run between courts 1 and 2 and the 3 new courts. And this was tossed around quite a bit by the committee. However, once again, do we want to pay $100,000 for a 3-foot wide walkway? Do we have a social gathering area? Yes, we do. Do we want to put pavers all over the entire complex? Maybe someday, but it's not necessary now. To meet the needs of the community right now, if we do it, option 3, it'll work, and it'll work well. the question of doing it right, no one could define what right was. In my book, this is right. This is the way to do it, and I'll leave it up to you folks to take a look at it.
I think it's right versus optimal. And John, I want to thank you for being a good board member first. And I think you're giving this board good direction. Several of us on this board play pickleball. We understand that. I think you're coming at it from the community standpoint first, and I thank you for that. I think the committee is recommending the optimum, and yeah, that would be the best that we could do with that area. But I think we have other considerations, and you've hit those on the head. So I'm wondering now if we need a motion.
Yes,
Well,
motion.
do you want a motion here? My motion would be that we direct Fast Dry to go ahead and begin work on our pickleball courts using option 3 and not to exceed $160,000.
I need a second.
Who seconded? Brownie, you seconding? Did
Yeah,
Brownie
he's
second?
seconding. Now we can discuss.
Yes, let's open up for discussion. Chap, kick us off.
We're
Chap
doing
has-
this.
Chap has the floor.
I got two things to say. Number one is we're doing this for the good of the community for the next 10 to 30 years, not for just tomorrow. Therefore, I lean toward option 2, which is the optimal. The second thing I want to understand, and I've asked this question when I first heard about this option 3, and I'll direct it to John Coyle. The last thing, are people going to have to be traipsing through pickleball courts that are being played on to get to where they want to go?
Just like Chap, just like any other pickleball community in the country, people will probably wait until play stops and then traipse through.
I don't like that, but that's neither here nor there.
The way it works.
The option
Well, the
2,
other option is
do we
that
eliminate that problem with option 2? The optimal, do we eliminate that problem with the optimal option 2?
Do we eliminate that problem? Yes. Yes,
Okay.
there's a walkway. Yes.
Thank you.
Brownie?
Okay, 2 comments. You saw my email. First of all, as far as open space for social gathering, there is much open space in option 3 as in option 2. And as I mentioned, and not do it originally, but we could probably get our table people to pave it. Might cost another $30,000 if that could be done in a convenience. And the question of looking at this plot and answering your question, this plot is right. The only time there people will have to cross courts is for court 3. And they only have to go across the corner. The gates are right there. It's really like a very short transition. The court 3 is the only one that you cannot get into directly if you put the gates right. Is that right, John? Court 3 is the only one that would require cutting across court 4, and it's only on that corner. Is that correct? So in other words, I don't think that's a big deal.
I agree with you.
It's one court, and it's just a few feet across that corner.
I agree with you, and you could put a gate on that far west end and enter that way too.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? John?
Uh, I agree. I was just gonna say that, yes, you can have access to all 5 courts. You'll have access to 4. You can put a gate on the west side and you'll have access to all 5 without any problem at all. And I attended the pickleball committee meeting when they were talking about this and gave them my views, which is the same as John's. And they're thinking, yeah, we want to do it right. We don't want to do it like court 3. This is nothing like court 3. Court 3, we blew that. Yes. We had to go in the wrong way. We only did 1. Okay. We're getting 5 courts here. Okay. We don't need to do the 2 other ones. They're in pretty good shape. And if they do need to be resurfaced, we have $7,000 in our reserves. Okay. Number 2 is, which I told them, and I'll tell you guys, and I think most of you will agree, is that the $100,000 is going to get us a 7-foot walkway down to a 5-foot walkway, or 3, whatever it is. I don't think $100,000 is worth that. And I asked the question too, okay, what's not being done right? And no one else gave me an answer besides of the gathering space. So my mind, $100,000 for a walkway is not worth it.
Yeah, that's my feeling. Okay, I want to hear from Ken Swallen.
I'm mixed opinion on this. Wait a minute. I have a mixed opinion because, I can't disagree with what you guys said, except that I also know that some people go through the walkway there now to go to other places. And also, how do the people get out to go to the restroom? Because now when they go out, they go out through the walkway that there's now and walk to the restrooms down at the clubhouse. There are no other restrooms. I'm just questioning, if somebody wants to go to the restroom when there are games going on, do they have to come all the way around through the parking lot into the restroom?
Well, once again, Ken, this is similar to what Chap was saying. In Sterling Oaks and anywhere else that you want to play pickleball, you wait until play stops for a second and you walk across and you say, "Excuse me, I'm going to the bathroom," or you just say, "Excuse me," and you walk out the west end. Is
there going to be a gate there?
In Rick's initial drawing, there is going to be a gate, but my concern is that we probably don't want gates. We want to make sure everything is ADA accessible. So rather than a gate there, I would say, no, there'd just be an opening rather than having all those gates. We'd probably save some money doing it. And more importantly, just having the opening. Yes, the ball will get out there once in a while, but the ball gets out there now once in a while. It's nothing new. We'd save a few dollars on gates, Ken, but I can see fences running the length of the courts, but not the entire length. At the end of the court, there'd be 6-8 foot opening for people to walk through without opening and closing gates. No gates. And this is something that I would talk to Fast Dry about.
I think this proposal is functional and appropriate, feasible. It works for me. If we go to another plan that costs an additional $100,000, I cannot support it. It's as simple as that for me.
Same here.
Steve Mara.
I would agree that we should go with the recommendation of our 2 board members. Of course, a committee is going to come up with the grandiose Cadillac. That's what they want to ask for the moon. That's what they do. And that's fine that they feel that way. But we have 2 board members here, and I would trust their judgment. Or 3, actually, Ken too. But I would trust their judgment and
You got 4.
And go without the walkway.
2.
Okay, any other discussion? We have a motion on the table. No further discussion. Let's take a vote based on the motion. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
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 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that everybody then?
Those opposed signify by saying nay and raise your hand. It looks like unanimous to me. Am I correct?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay. Good work, John. Let's carry on. Okay, new business, tennis court resurfacing. Is this yours, Brownie?
Actually, I talked to,
I have to go make a phone call.
Mark, so I guess you must have this, Mark. I mean, I knew we were gonna have to redo it till I saw it on the agenda. I talked to Paul about it. We'd gotten the estimates. So I'm not sure who put it on the agenda.
Well, we were waiting for those various, we were waiting. Ritzman was slow to come to the table. The other two bids that came in were 20,000 and up. Ritzman came in at 17,600 for courts 8, 9, 10, and 11. This is in the reserve funds to resurface the course on an annual basis, at least for these courts. So this was just the last bid to come in, and it was the best price, and it's by a company that's done the courts here a myriad of times in the past.
And the total for the 4 courts is what, Mark?
8, 9, 10, and 11.
It's what?
8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, but what's the total cost amount?
17,600.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we ask the funds, that we approve the funds out of reserve to resurface those courts for, to round it up to 18,000.
Okay.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, Steve Mara seconds. All in favor of this motion signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Carries unanimously with the exception of Chap, who left the room momentarily. Okay. Let's go to sales fees. Mark.
This was just a portion of the budget inquiry. Each year we look at those areas that are part of the revenue stream that impact the overall budget. 2 is that we look at comparative analysis between us and other communities to try to figure out whether or not we're in sync with the existing, the Beekman report and what other communities are doing. So we feel that any increase that is borne by somebody who does not live here yet only falls to the bottom line, and it only impacts them. It does to some degree impact the seller. What we're seeing though is the price of homes has significantly increased over time. Especially single family homes. We're looking at prices that are a lot higher than we ever expected. So the discussion went to John Mulligan as the treasurer, as a part of the overall board. The overall budget analysis and packet. John has his own feelings about this. This is just I think a discussionary point, but in order for us to move forward with the overall budget to get down to whether or not your monthly, monthly base assessment is a 409 a month, or if it's a 417 a month or 328 a month or whatever it's going to be for 2024, revenue drives that bottom number. Lowering expenses and looking at expenses is something that, of course, we do from a zero base standpoint, but in today's world with the inflationary aspect, labor shortages, being here in Southwest Florida, as a part of the myriad of competitive housing establishments, we felt that we should probably do something with the sale contribution, capital contribution fee on a sale of a home. Currently, it's at $3,500. The opening bid was $5,000. To raise it to $5,000, John felt that that was a little exorbitant and maybe would come in at a different rate. I can only tell you that the average out there is right around $4,500 for the other communities in our ilk. Most of them are at 5, some are going to 10,000. Some are simply because of the cost of managing their operations and not wanting to pass those large increases in dues down to their existing members. So I'll let John, you as treasurer, take it from here and see what the board has to say.
Yeah, I think when we looked at the Beekman report, Mark, what you sent out, the actual average was $5,100, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
And Mark said, you know, the sales have gone up, but he mentioned single family homes has really gone crazy. But I'm not sure how much over the last year anyway, or two, how much the condos have gone up. And we don't have a split tier thing. It's the same amount for $1 million home or a $350,000 condo. And to charge $5,000, add $5,000 or another $1,500 to the condos, or really anybody that's not the $1 million home, I think is a little higher than it should be. I agree. I would like the more revenue we're getting in, the better it is, but I don't want to be at the detriment of possibly selling a home. You know, you said, okay, we're doing this more for people who are staying here and everything. I agree with that, but I think 5,000 is too high. Ron?
I had a question of Mark. Mark, one of the things that, and I know we always say it's negotiable, but in actual fact, I would suspect that the greater number of times the seller ends up paying this. You list your house at a certain amount. When you get down to the final, I'm guessing that the current owner more times than not ends up paying this. Is that right?
I can't answer that. Linda, can you answer that?
Yeah, I've heard that it's negotiated, but I would think it would be hard if you list a price and then you get oh, by the way, there's another $5,000 you need to pay. I have a feeling that the seller ends up eating it most of the time. Is that right, Linda? You're on mute, Linda. You're on mute. You're on mute, Linda.
Is she there?
Yeah, she's there.
No,
She's talking away, but she's on mute.
You're on mute, Linda.
Yeah.
You're on mute. Linda, you're on mute.
Oh, boy.
Well, let's carry on with the discussion.
Well, her inputs.
Well, of course, it's the buyer.
You probably can't see my hand. I don't have the packet in front of me. What's the rate? What's the fee now?
35.
Mark? And the proposal is to go to 5?
Right.
Is that right?
Didn't we just increase this also, Mark, within the last year or two? Mark,
What?
didn't we increase it once in the last couple of years?
We increase it from time to time, I think, yeah, all the time.
But when was the last time we increased it?
I honestly, I cannot tell you. Here, Lynn.
2 or 3 years ago.
I'd like to amend is there a motion on the table?
Not
No,
yet.
there's not.
Well, how about an amendment to this thing? Listening to John Mulligan. How about reducing it a little bit? Go to 4,500 on the single family homes and 4,000 on the condos.
don't think we could do that, or we don't do that, you know, where do you draw the line? Okay,
John,
condos are at X, here's Lindy, let Lindy talk.
Go.
yeah, sorry about that. I lost my internet. I just wanted to mention, first of all, no, the sellers don't pay it, the buyers do. I have never had a seller have to pay it or reduce their price because of it. But what I want to say about the condos in particular, you can buy a home, $1 million home, with 5% down payment. The bank has Sony Mae, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, all those loans are available. You actually can get one at 3%. The condos, the banks require 20% down, sometimes 30%. So you're talking about a lot of money that a condo buyer has to come up with in the beginning to get a mortgage. Then they have the closing costs on top of that, of course. And then this fee. So I just think bumping it up that much is a big stretch for the condos. And I do think it'll hurt, it certainly will hurt a condo owner trying to sell. And he may very well end up having to pay it himself, the seller, which means he's going to get less for his money. That's one thing. The second thing is I did a lot of research on all the clubs, and all the ones that were on the list for bundled, and there was not one for 10,000. There was one for 8. It went up from 6 the last time, the last fee they had, but we found some that were none on that list. There was actually no transfer fee. We found some for $250, some for, I got the list right here. They go everywhere from 0 to 8,000.
Yeah, the
And the
Glades, for
majority-
instance, is 0 because they're a special group under Florida statutes.
Under what?
The Glades Country Club is a kind of a special Florida statute group. It's not a 720 or 718. It's
Well, that's
something-
neither
Right.
here nor there. Let's
Yeah,
continue with the.
Yeah, and that was the 0 one. I understand
Right.
that there are some special ones. But we did find Lexington was $275. Naples Heritage Golf was $100. Pelican Sound, $4,500. Vasari, $51.56.
Wait,
Worthington,
whoa.
$250.
Pelican Sound is not 100.
Well, that's exactly what was on the listings for properties for sale there.
I can tell you Pelican Sound, just from what I got from Eric Long, the general manager, that they charge the existing dues price in the sale of their home as a I don't know if it's called capital contribution, but I can
No,
get
I'm just
that.
talking capital contribution. I can't find out that other stuff.
Yeah,
you know. You can.
All I can say is it doesn't matter to me
Right.
or the crew here if it changes or goes down. You can put it at $1,000. It's just a matter of whether or not how it manages your bottom line. All we do is look at ways to balance the budget and look at ways to offset some of the stuff. You know, one of the things that you're going to talk about is cash reduction in the next little system here. For the past 2 years, we've put $100,000 into the kitty from the checkbook, emptied the checkbook of $100,000 and put it towards the dues at $11.32 a month. We've done that for 2 years to help offset the increase to dues.
Right.
We're finding now that we're having with inflation and the cost of goods sold and everything else that we're having to deal with an increase. So we're just looking at possible ways to limit the increase to dues so that we don't have everybody freaking out. Because
Right, and I appreciate that, but I'm just saying,
but the
I
amount,
do think
once
it is.
again, Linda, wait a minute, let me finish here. the amount of people that are going to be materially affected by an increase of, let's say it goes to $4,000 or even $4,500 is going to be minimalistic compared to the 736 doors that would benefit from the lowering of the overall monthly assessments on an annual basis. So I think I think the only reason we look at it is it's good for the many, and it may be a little bit uncomfortable for the few. However, with home sales going, as you know, going from 200, 500 to 600, and now going into the 900s, 8 and 900s, and up to the millions in the single family homes, a $4,000 or $5,000, capital sales contribution is not going to be a big shaker. I can understand the condo and coach homes situation. If you're at 250, 350, 400, that is a larger impact, but it is going to only impact probably 40 or 50 home sales throughout the entire year, which is, what's that, 8% of the 8% of the total population that would benefit from the increased revenue. So that's why we do it. But it is totally up to you folks as the board to make those decisions. And I think you do have to weigh all sides. That's for sure.
Well, let's move toward a vote here. We'll have more discussion if it's necessary, but let's think what's best for the community here. Let's think what's reasonable. And, on the fringe here, we have speculators that come in and gobble up our properties. And we tried to get a vote in the community to stop that sort of thing from happening. The vote failed. So I don't have a whole lot of concern about speculators coming in. The Beekman report has a smack dab in the middle of all communities. I think that's reasonable. And as Mark said, the number of people affected are relatively small. So let's think about what's best for the community. I'll go back to Chap's proposal. It's not quite as much as we asked, but it approaches that. To me, that seems reasonable.
How much is it?
45.
I propose 4,500 for single family homes and 4,000 for condos, if that's legal.
Amen. It seems like to me a fair way would be a percentage, 0.8, 1%. In other words, it would be possible to make this based on the percentage, not a flat rate for the 250 or the 800,000. Seemed like to me it'd be fairer if it were a percentage.
Why don't we keep it simple and just go with the 4,500?
You couldn't do it as a percentage. You could do it as it couldn't do it a percentage of the home price and then be able to do any budgeting on it, because there'd be no
Floating.
There'd be no way of understanding what that would be.
Fairness between the condos and the single family, not so much the budget. I mean, it'd be a little bit harder to estimate, but.
Right, but right now it's 3,500.
Paul, can I clarify one thing?
Go ahead.
Right now it's 3,500, but they get 200 back as a food and beverage credit.
Right, that would continue.
Okay.
All right, so right now I have a motion made by Chap Colucci to increase the sale capital contribution from $3,500 to $4,500 for new single-family homeowners, and $4,000 for condo and coach homes, right?
Right.
I don't know that we can do that.
I don't know
if we legitimately do that.
Huh? I can't answer if you can do that and differentiate like that or not, because it's part of the monthly base assessments, and I don't know of how it's applied.
Well, right now it's 3,500 for a condo, right?
Yep, it is.
Let's keep it at 45 and keep this simple.
John Mulligan, are you okay with 45? as a flat number.
Rather do what Chap was saying, but I'm not sure if we could do that.
Yeah.
I've got a,
Not either.
I don't know if you can either because it's part of the,
let me make a comment on that. I went in and looked at the documents on this particular thing about the capital transfer fund, okay? It doesn't, it's very short. It doesn't specify percentage or dollar amount. It just says the board has the right to do it. And the interesting thing though is it's supposed to go into a capital fund, not an operating fund. It has to be a specific capital line item. That's why it's called a capital transfer. Now, I know you can play the game. It can still decrease your operating cost or your assessment, but technically it has to go into specifically a capital fund, transfer fund. But as far as there's no restriction, and at least unless there's in the state law. I didn't check the state law, but in our covenants, it doesn't say it can't be different for or whatever. Okay, it doesn't specify.
yeah, the auditors have asked that, but they've never made us change it.
All right,
All
the
right, here we
motion
go.
on the table is a number. We're not.
Well, how about this? We
discussing
gotta
concept.
modify this. We gotta modify this. Here's my motion. I move we change the contribution or I move we change the transfer rate to $4,500 for single family homes and $4,000 for condos, assuming it passes muster with our lawyer. If it does not, then it's $4,500 for everybody.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Hold
Okay,
on. Slowly. I have to write out Chap's little verbatim.
all
here.
right. Once this
$4,500 for
passes,
single family homeowners and $4,000
$4,000 for condos if it
Coach
passes
Legal muster.
and
legal
if it does
muster.
not, it's
If it does not,
45.
it's $4,500 for everybody.
Okay. I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Uh, Those opposed signify by raising your hands and say nay. So it passes unanimously.
I do have a question. Who's going to determine whether or not it can be 4 and 45? Are you going to do that, Mark?
I'm gonna contact Jason tomorrow. And then I'll also, I'll contact Jason tomorrow. And then I'm probably gonna shoot something off to the auditors, just to make sure that they understand what's going on.
Like I say, there's no restriction in our document. It might be in the state statute. I didn't check that.
Yeah, all right. Okay, we're on to the next one, which is the sales application fee. This is just one other thing. It goes from 250 to 300 to kind of fall in line with what we have. John Mulligan, can you chime in?
I mean, I'm not sure when, supposedly we haven't raised that in how long for an eternity, and
Yeah,
I don't have
it's been a long
problem.
time.
I don't have a problem going up with that at all.
Okay, I need a
Couple extra
motion,
bucks
please.
to the bottom line, which helps us all.
Is that a motion, John?
Yes. Where the hell
I
is
need
it?
a second. Rick, thank you.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion about that? Seems pretty straightforward.
This is paid by obviously the seller, right?
It's all paid it's all paid by the buyer. Everything's paid by the buyer.
The application fee I thought was paid with.
By the buyer.
It's
It's
paid.
all part of the estoppel comes in from the title company as a part of the closing costs.
There are no further questions. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously. We through, Mark, with your section?
Yes, we're on to budget discussion C, cash reduction, and then long-term capital fund.
Okay, we're gonna have a hard stop here at 3:30. And I wanted these two items on the agenda as we begin to build the budget. I want the board to consider, and in all probability, we'll move this to the next board meeting if we can, or have a special board meeting to discuss this if necessary. But this could take a while to talk about. So I want to plant this in your heads and be thinking about this. For the last couple of years, item one, we've had a cash reduction to the tune of $100,000 that essentially offsets the dues of each and every resident. Now, there are a couple things in my mind. Number one, not one person has come to me to say, what is this cash reduction? And number two, no one has come to me to say, thank you for the cash reduction. I'm very pleased that you're able to reduce our dues.
Don't hold your breath.
And for the most part, people don't even know what it is.
No, they don't.
Number one. Number two, from my other life in the school district, when we're wrestling with millions of dollars from thousands of property taxpayers out there, when you do this sort of thing, it's kind of okay in the first year, and some people recognize it, most don't. But the big problem comes when you take it away, and then suddenly taxes go up, or in our case, the dues go up, because you no longer have this tax reduction. What's happening universally is we're in a period of inflation and things are going up already. When we take this cash reduction away, then we're going to hear some whining and gnashing of teeth in the community. Because not only will this go away, but our other expenditures will go up also. So my concern is, why are we doing this? People out there don't know what it is, and they're not appreciative of it, and it's going to come back and bite us very quickly. So I'm not looking for a resolution today, but I'm asking you all to think about this, and it's going to affect the budget. It's either going to stay in there, or it's going to come out, or some of it will come out. I don't know, but I want you to be thinking about this, and I'm giving you my perspective at this point. Now, number two, the long-term capital fund. We have not discussed that as a board in quite a while. And as we have new members on this board, probably 6 out of 9 have never discussed this concept. And in terms of what it is, where it came from, why we did it to begin with, and why it should exist in the future. I have a little concern about it, that it's become a slush fund for the board. It's kind of nice on the board's part to have this, but it affects everyone's dues. And we pay a little bit every month for this. And when that cash reduction goes away, this will be amplified. But we pay a little bit for the long-term capital fund. And the thing that bothers me is that we have no long-term plan for the long-term capital fund. It's okay, we've gotten a chunk of money. It's approaching, if it's not beyond $400,000 right now. We have earmarked several projects for that already. Not that we planned for it, but we just happen to have the money and we happen to have the project. My concern is, why are we doing this? Why should we continue to do this each and every month? And why are we not building in our budget a capital line item for the things that we feel are important? And in terms of transparency, we should be sharing that sort of thing with the community to say we have this big capital project, we want to spend this kind of money on it, and not say, oh, we've got a chunk of money over here on the side. Let's use that chunk of money. And I would propose to you that that's the sort of thing we're going to hear about from the community. I think we're going to hear about this pickleball from the community, not so much from the players, And I think there's a significant number of players who want this in the community, and that's why I'm for it. But I think we're going to hear about it from the rest of the communities. It's a large chunk of money. So I want the board to be thinking about the long-term fund and the future of the long-term fund as to whether or not we need it, whether or not we should have it. And those two items, I suggest that we think about, we mull it over, and we either have a special session to talk about it or we move it to the next board meeting.
Is Mulligan still
Paul.
here?
Yeah,
Molly?
Paul,
Yes.
I know we're not going to discuss it here, but I'd like to give my perspective on it. Just when we leave, when we're all leaving, I'd like to give the opposite view. Okay. Number one, on the cash give back. Okay.
Yeah.
You might not be hearing thank yous, but you're not hearing a lot of people saying, damn, my dues went up by $100,000. Okay. So that's keeping that murmur down a little bit. And we gave 100,000 back last year, and we given 100,000 back this year for a reason. Okay. 3 years ago, we had made 400,000 more than we thought we were going to.
Right.
So as a board, we thought, okay, we're not going to give all that back because that would be foolish. We just thought, okay, we'll keep half to build up our balance sheet and give half back. Okay. So we gave 100,000 back this year. Right now we're making 75,000 more than we thought. So in essence, we didn't really give anything back. So if we did it for a reason, the reason's still there. We should do that. I agree with, at some point it's going to stop, right? We're going to take a 3% hit, or maybe this year we get 75 or 50 back. Okay.
Right. That's my fear.
Yeah. And then a long-term fund, my perspective is that it's a very good thing. We don't know what's going on, but if we didn't have this, we wouldn't be putting new pickleball courts in. We wouldn't put the bocce in. We wouldn't be doing a lot of things. Okay. But we do have some potential projects out there. Okay. We just mentioned pickleball and bocce ball is going to knock that 400,000 down pretty low. Okay. We talked several months ago, we talked about a new clubhouse management system. It'll be all encompassing ASC and blah, blah, blah. That's $80,000 to $100,000. Okay. Part of this go towards the irrigation project. If we go with what we're doing now, if we're short, we take it out of here. And we still have the boardwalk expansion and who knows what else comes up. So I'm not in favor of getting rid of it totally. So
My point is those three things you just rattled off at the end, we should be budgeting for those things. It should be in the budget.
No, we shouldn't. Then our budget would go up crazy. This is something that you do over time that will help out.
I'm not saying we put all of those items in the budget. I'm saying we should have the forethought to be thinking about big projects and putting it in the budget and sharing that with the community.
In essence, that's what we're doing. In essence, that's what we're doing by having this fund.
And I think that it's a slush fund and the money happens to be there, and the next project that comes along and with new board members sitting on the board, they come in and say, let's use the money here. I don't think we're giving it much forethought.
Molly?
I could be convinced to keep it, but I think some things have to fall in place. And that's some strategic thinking in terms of what's the purpose of the fund and where are we going with it?
Molly, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You are personally in favor of keeping the long-term capital fund, and you are personally in favor of keeping what heretofore has been called a cash reduction. Is that correct?
Yes, whether it's 100 grand or maybe 75 or 50.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
All right, Lindia.
I hope my sound is on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Has any thought been given to part of that money being put aside in case of another hurricane and the deductible that might be a big amount that might be necessary?
Yeah, Lindy, we already have that as part of our reserves. We have $150,000 in there in reserves. And
okay.
And we spent 100 and something this year. So that's why we didn't have to do any special assessment last year, because we were we had this good cash balance and we had the reserves where it should be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment? Okay, good. Let's mull this over and we'll move this forward for another discussion. And until such time, we'll keep everything as it is. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
John Mulligan and Brownie. Seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you very much, you all.
Board meeting date next month. We didn't discuss that, sorry.
October 26th.
October 26th.
Okay,
October 26th, 1:30.
okay.
At the clubhouse, because most people, a lot of people will be
Yes,
down there.
At the
Yes.
clubhouse.
Yep.
And I report,
1:30 at 1.
1:30. 1:30.
All right,
Okay,
wonderful.
good
Thank you
meeting
all.
today, guys.